Bouchard is an Oiler. We already knew that. Evan Bouchard remains an Oiler because he just signed a 4-year contract extension. One that will pay him $10.5 million per season. It's kind of a lot. And yet, it's also kind of not a lot. Listen, if you've been watching this YouTube channel for a while, you know that sometimes I like to pick on Evan Bouchard. Because while he is a very good defenseman, and by the way, I would only pick on him if he was a very good defenseman. It's funnier that way. Like, he's supposed to be great, right? He does have some very, very, very visually hilariously bad highlights. But those plays are not what Evan Bouchard is doing the majority of the time. And if you're wondering why he's getting $10.5 million for the next 4 seasons, here's why. If you go back just to the 2021-22 season until this past season, that was 2024-25, here's how Evan Bouchard stacks up in scoring against all the other defensemen in the NHL. In the regular season, he's actually not nearly as high as I thought. Still very, very good, and in the top 10, just not as high as I thought. It goes Cale Makar, number 1 with 334 points. The only other guy to have over 300 points is Quinn Hughes with 312. Then it's Adam Fox, Roman Josi, Victor Hedman, Rasmus Dahlin, Erik Karlsson still all these years later, Josh Morrissey, then it's Evan Bouchard with 232 points in 326 games. If you're wondering why Noah Dobson just got paid so much by Montreal, he's right behind Bouchard in 10th, and Morgan Riley, what are you doing there? But that is not Evan Bouchard's bread and butter. His bread and butter is the playoffs, and he has played a lot of playoff hockey on account of the Oilers have been pretty good. They went to a conference final in that time, and oh, yeah, 2 Stanley Cup finals. Since the beginning of the 2021-2022 season, Evan Bouchard is first in scoring amongst defensemen by a preposterous margin. 81 points in 75 games. He is above a point per game as a defenseman in the playoffs. Cale Makar is miles behind him with 54. The next closest guy is Adam Fox with 39. So one other person in all of hockey has 40 or more points over that span. Evan Bouchard has over 80. In other words, no defenseman in hockey other than Cale Makar has even half of the playoff points that Bouchard has since 2022. Yeah, well, Steve, that's all games played. No, it's not. In terms of points per game amongst defensemen over that time, Cam Fowler is first, but he only played 7 games this past playoff. He was very good for the Blues. Then it's Makar at 1.23, then Evan Bouchard at 1.08. Third's still pretty good. Okay, forget since 2022. How about all time? All time? Steve, he's 25 years old. I know. It kind of makes it more insane. In all time NHL scoring by a defenseman in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Evan Bouchard is 25th ever. He is 4 points behind Charlie Huddy, who's the next guy up. Here's the difference. Bouchard has played 75 career games. Charlie Huddy has played 183. All the people immediately above Bouchard, Gonchar, Letang, Ozelinch, Duncan Keith, have played way more, if not double or more, the games that Bouchard has, with the exception of Cale Makar, who is Cale Makar. And Cale Makar does not make $10.5 million, but that's because Cale Makar signed his contract years ago. Evan Bouchard signed this contract today, when the cap is going to the moon. In terms of points per game, all time amongst defensemen in the Stanley Cup playoffs, number 1 is that alien known as Bobby Orr. Number 2 is Joe Micheletti. Number 3 is Evan Bouchard, who is tied with Cale Makar at exactly 1.08 points per game. They are above Brian Leetch. They are above Paul Coffey. They are above everybody who is not Bobby Orr and Joe Micheletti. Worth noting, Joe Micheletti only had 12 career playoff points, so it's really just Bobby Orr. That's the only guy. Now, what is a defenseman's job? Defense. But that's not really true. Like, I mean, yes, it is, but that's not it. That's not everything. At the end of the day, hockey is a goal-scoring contest, and the team with more wins. So while it's handy to have defenders, it is also handy to have guys who help you score goals in the goal-scoring contest. Evan Bouchard does that as well as any defenseman in Stanley Cup playoff history. Now, when you knock on his defense, people get up in arms because, well, the numbers suggest that the good things happen when he's on the ice. And that is true. Good things do happen when he's on the ice. But in hockey, good things happen and bad things happen. What happens when the bad things happen? How well do you mitigate the bad things? Sometimes, he's not so great at mitigating the bad things. But Evan Bouchard's positives are so cartoonishly OP that you must make him one of the highest paid players in the league. And now, as producer Drew so cheekily points out, the Edmonton Oilers kind of have a core four. Connor McDavid makes 12.5. Leon Draisaitl is about to make 14. Evan Bouchard is about to make 10.5. Darnell Nurse still makes 9.25. Big difference with Edmonton's core four, and a different one located inside of Canada, is they have done stuff in the playoffs. In fact, they have done everything except win the Stanley Cup. Now, on the horizon for Edmonton, there is a concern, a very obvious concern. Evan Bouchard is no longer one of those concerns, so that's definitely a positive. You have a gifted 25-year-old who will be 26 at the beginning of the season, who's going to be an Oiler until he's 30. He'll be at the top part of most of the record books in the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Edmonton Oilers for his whole career by the time he gets to the end of this contract. That's how good this guy is. The concern over the horizon is Connor McDavid's contract is expiring 1 year from today. Depending on when you watch this, I'll be off by give or take a couple hours. Now, of course, McDavid is eligible for a contract extension July 1st, 2025. Depending on when you're watching this, that's today or tomorrow or yesterday, in which case you're late. Now, that might happen. It could still happen, but McDavid has sort of indicated that he can wait. Last year, Draisaitl waited, and we all worried and fretted, and it ended up getting done no problem. Here is, I think, the worry. Are the Edmonton Oilers good enough to come close to a championship? Of course they are. We know that. They've been to the Stanley Cup final in back-to-back years. Did they win this year? No. Did they do as well this year? You could argue definitely not. But at the beginning of a season, you can never guarantee that you're going to win the Stanley Cup. All you can do is put yourself within arm's reach, and the Oilers have done that. The cap is going up. That's great news. Draisaitl's cap hit is also going up, kind of by a lot. Not great news. You still get Leon Draisaitl, but he takes up a far larger piece of the pie. Evan Bouchard is still an Oiler. That's great news. But now Evan Bouchard is taking up a far larger piece of the pie. You still have fat on your roster, millions in contracts that aren't that great that could be shed. But shed them you must to surround Connor McDavid and Darnell Nurse and Leon Draisaitl and Evan Bouchard with the talent that they need to get things done. I guess my question is, McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse, Bouchard, all those guys were Oilers last year. They're going to be Oilers this upcoming year as well. How do you surround them with a better team than they were surrounded with this past season? And you can't just throw your hands up and say it's as simple as having a healthy Zach Hyman in the lineup. There are always injuries. I think they would have given Florida a better run with him in the lineup too, but we'll never know. And if ifs and buts were candy, and that's something. Do you have an answer to that? Let me know in the comment box down below. But for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Things are popping off. I have an Aaron Ekblad video to shoot, and Mitch Marner got traded in the middle of me shooting this. So subscribe to SDPN, you silly goose.